I figured to celebrate 3 years of the podcast with this cold opening. I'm going to open my first ever confetti cannon. I've never done one of these. I know not to point it at my face, but I figured I should celebrate somehow. I don't know what to anticipate. Make sure I'm not pointing at any lights either. Go. That was mostly off camera. It scared the shit out of me. Oh no. I'm gonna have to clean this, aren't I? Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna run the actual intro now. We'll actually just get this started.
The following thoughts and opinions regarding this album are strictly of my own personal interests. I am not a professional music reviewer. I do encourage respectful discussion and friendly banter of each episode, but I do not condone and will not tolerate bullying or belligerence of any kind.
Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rate the Record podcast. What's with all the confetti and the sparkles and the weird stuff and everything like that I'm going to have to clean up? Well, in case you didn't know, for episode 113, thank you very much for joining me. And the reason why there's all these things here, in case you didn't know and don't follow me on social media, guess what? Rate the Record turns 3 years old today. It's been 3 years to the release of this episode that the podcast started. Episode 1 came out, and that was Pearl Jam's 10 way back in August 2021. It's 3, so I got all these streamers and balloons and the confetti that I'm definitely going to have to clean up later, which I failed to think about. But anyways, yes, here I am celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the Rate the Record podcast, so thank you very much for joining me today. If you want to show support for the show, or the fact that it's been around for 3 years at this point, anything of the sort like that, you can do so by doing one of, all of, or even just a fraction of these things. Like, subscribe, rate, share, comment, and follow. All 6 of those things, again, just even one of them or a little bit of them, really truly do help the channel out. Your support means the world to me. I'd really appreciate it if you did that, especially if you end up liking what you see today anyway. So by all means, please feel free to do that. And you can find all the places to do that too over at ratetherecord.ca. Once again, that is ratetherecord.ca. You go over there, you find all the streaming links, social media links. You can get some RTR merch that looks like this and other things. I'm trying to work on other things, but it's difficult to add more designs, but I'm not, that doesn't mean I'm not trying. There you go. And of course, the RTR Club for $3 a month, early access to episodes, shout out on social media, request albums to do for the show, and of course, just like general discourse with me. The easiest way to get in touch with me and just chat with me would be over at the RTR Club, $3 a month, found at ratetherecord.ca. Whew. Well, if you've been here before, you know I got to get that all the way. And if you've been here before, you know exactly how these anniversary episodes work. So welcome back. And especially if you've been on previous anniversary episodes, thank you very much for joining me for this one. I truly do appreciate it. But if you're new here, welcome to the show. You picked a hell of an episode to jump in on, but I'm glad you're here. Hope you enjoy your stay. Hope you have some fun talking about music with me and everything like that. I will let you know, I should say, exactly what I do here on the podcast, because chances are you don't know. So each week I will choose an album. It'll be completely random. It'll be a request. Maybe it's celebrating the anniversary. Maybe it has a special occasion that has to do like this. But regardless, I will choose one. I'll listen to the entire album on the show, song by song, but obviously only in a few second chunks, because I don't want to get my ass handed to me by copyright. So you'll hear it in a few second chunks. I listen to the whole thing. Regardless, I will do that for every single song. I will let you know my opinions on the songs, about the entire album, and then, of course, the bread and butter of this whole damn thing. Rank the songs and then rate the record. There you go. Rate the record, just like my shirt says. That's exactly what happens here on the show, and I think I have confetti down the back of my shirt, and it's just bothering me a little bit, so I'm all distracted. But regardless, yeah, 3 years. I know this is a Friday episode, and I said I wasn't going to do any more of these. Well, I mean, this is a very special occasion, because yes, it was indeed August 30th, 2021. The very first episode of the Rate the Record podcast came out, and that was Pearl Jam's 10, their debut album. And then we just kind of made it a thing year after year that on the anniversary would do another Pearl Jam album. So we've done Versus, we've done Vitalogy, and again, I know I'm alone this year. I'm doing this by myself this year, but no worries at all. That doesn't mean that today I can't look at Pearl Jam and their 1996 album, No Code. I almost said 94, that's wrong. 1996 album, No Code. And just before I go any further with that, I'm going to crack open this drink right now on camera, actually. It is an alcoholic beverage. I just want to raise a toast to the podcast. 113 episodes in, still going, still having a lot of fun with this, but I especially want to give a special cheers toast to my former co-host, Savannah. Again, if you've only been watching like the new episodes of season 6, you won't even be aware of her, but she was a part of 5 seasons, 100 episodes of this podcast. So without her, I wouldn't even be at 113 right now. There wouldn't even be an episode, period. I appreciate all the work she's done. I'm very happy with everything that's happened, and I hope she's doing fantastic on her own and doing all those great things. So toast, cheers, hurrah, hurrah, whatever. Alrighty then. Now that I've had that toast sip, a sip of toast, that'd be weird. Anyways, I'm out of my head today. That's the best time to do an episode, so let me tell you a little bit about No Code. No Code is the 4th studio album by alternative rock act Pearl Jam. It was released on August 27th, 1996, and distributed through Epic Records. 3 different studios were used to record the album, including CRC in Chicago, Kingsway Studio in New Orleans, and Studio Litho in Seattle. The album was produced by the band themselves, as well as Brendan O'Brien. Brendan has worked with many bands since 1988, including many previously featured on the podcast, including Black Crowes, Stone Temple Pilots, Aerosmith, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and specifically their 1991 album Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and the majority of Pearl Jam albums up until 2013's Lightning Bolt. For this album, the band consisted of multi-instrumentalist Eddie Vedder on vocals, Jeff Ament on bass and backing vocals, Stone Gossard on guitars, vocals, and piano, Mike McCready on lead guitar and piano, and Jack Irons on drum and percussion. And he was actually one of the founding members of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. For the most part, No Code received moderate to good reviews upon its release. The LA Times gave it 4 out of 4 stars, AllMusic, Q, and Rolling Stone gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and NME gave it 7 out of 10. The album peaked at number 1 in 8 countries including Canada, the US, and the UK, as well as a total of 17 top 5 placements across the world. The album was certified 6 times platinum, twice in Australia, twice in Canada, once in New Zealand, and once in the US. The album spawned 3 singles: Who You Are, which hit number 1 on the US singles charts, Hail Hail, and Off He Goes. Alright, so now we know a little bit more about the album No Code, but now we need to know more about the album, the song specifically, because that's what this whole damn podcast is about. We've listened to 3 Pearl Jam albums in the past. This is number 4, so they've set a record so far on the show as of this point of the band who's appeared the absolute most on the show. Mike Patton being the artist who's appeared the most on the show, but the band, Pearl Jam, now holds that record. There you go. I guess they don't until the album's over, so let's get it started. Song number 1, Sometimes. Well, definitely a very quiet song to start this one off. Song number 1, Sometimes. Definitely not one of the edgier introductions to a Pearl Jam album that we've gotten in the past, and it doesn't necessarily make it a bad song or anything, but just, it was less than what I expected, let's say that much. And just other things in the song too, like we've heard fretless bass before in Pearl Jam albums. Like I can't remember off the top of my head what songs it would have been, but there's definitely there. It feels a little weird, but it still sounds good overall. I wouldn't complain about it. Just, it's always strange when you always hear like the rock bass, but then it goes into this gentle fretless bass sound, this very meowing kind of sound. So interesting little back and forth. I think it happens again on this album. I can't remember, but we'll find out as we move forward. I'm sorry, my brain's a little scattered and all over the place. And lyrically too, it kind of sounds like Eddie calling himself out a little bit, because there's like a lot of self-awareness towards his own writing style and everything too. But that can also keep a million jokes about Eddie's writing style and his performance style, where people are just like, I'm sorry, what is he saying? LOL, what? Because obviously his vocals can be very hard to understand at times. If you didn't know, but I have a feeling that you probably knew already. So yeah, I mean, like, some gentle call-out song to start the album. Very, very interesting choice indeed. Let's see what happens to song number 2, Hail Hail. Alright, song number 2, Hail, hail. This one's a true starter to the album for sure. And I mean, I've said that about like a lot of things in the past on this show where, again, song number one doesn't always feel like the true starter, and the second song picks it all up, makes it feel better. I think that's what the case was for this song. Definitely, truly kicked off the album. And for the most part, it's just a fairly straightforward rock progression, nothing too like crazy about it or anything. And Eddie's vocals, for the most part, feel kind of really, I don't know, monotone, kind of flat for a good chunk of the song. Like there are parts when he's going up and down and everything like that, but like a lot of it just rides pretty typical, so there's not much to pick up on that either. And there's some fun parts sprinkled in as well, but again, nothing too big about any of it in particular. It's hard to find anything to really pull out of this one. You can probably look at the lyrical content if you want to, but I don't know. This track seems a little underwhelming as a single, but I guess it's catchy enough, so I guess I see why it was. We'll see how the rest of the album carries on with song number 3, Who You Are. All right, song number 3, Who You Are. And I mean, I know we're only like 3 songs in this album, but it feels like an interesting little change up already, like something you wouldn't have necessarily anticipated. I really like the heavy use of harmonies, and like all the extra percussion was really fun too. So there was actually kind of a bit to enjoy about the song. It didn't have tons to it, but I did kind of like the feel-good vibe of this song. It definitely sounds like the kind of song that a bunch of stoned hippies would gather around a fire pit and just start like jamming out to. It's like one of those come one, come and all kind of jam sessions or whatever, you know. Just bring your tabla, bring your acoustic, bring your banjo, bring your sitar, bring a harmonica, bring spoons, do anything. Just join our little jam, man. It kind of gave that vibe. Doesn't really make it a bad thing. I'm just wanted to point that out. But yeah, other than that, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Despite the song being nearly 4 minutes long here. Yeah, 3 minutes and 50 seconds. I mean, it's just a chill acoustic style track. Bouncy, feel good. I mean, these are words I can all use. It was pleasant. It was nice. I do like it for that much. So moving on now, let's see how good it can stay or if it starts slipping from here. Song number 4, In My Tree. As it fades out, song number 4, In My Tree. This one actually bleeds over pretty well from the previous track too. Like there's an obvious cut between the two songs, but it just, I don't know, it feeds in very well because you have that very like percussion heavy driven rhythm section, and especially in the beginning you have that nice soft bass going along with it. I really like that. That felt really pleasant. And this one definitely has more of a pulse to it too as compared to the previous track. And by the end of it, I think I was liking it a lot more than I thought I was going into it. Like when it first started, I was like, okay, this could be fun. But then by the end, I just started liking it because there was actually a lot of pickup in this song too. Like it was a gradual build and it just felt really pleasing by the end. So I ended up really liking that. And there's also like a lot of new instrumental layers being thrown around in this one too. That was a really nice touch, and it really adds a lot to making this track stand out a little more with all the pleasing textures that it is giving. So I like how this is progressing so far. It makes me feel like I have high hopes for this album. Let's see how high they can stand with song number 5, Smile. All right, and as that one fades out as well, song number 5, Smile. Really felt that super strong Neil Young influence on this one for sure. I know that they like Neil Young, or at least Eddie does at the very least. So that was all over this track. Definitely heard it like everywhere, especially when that harmonica kicks in. You can definitely hear it. It's folky, it's bluesy, but still kind of riding that alternative wave a little bit, so it still has that going for it. There's just not a whole lot to this one, though, unfortunately. Like, I don't really know too much else what to say about it, because nothing stand out about it really kept too much of my attention, unfortunately. Not that I was drifting off from it, but just nothing was really grabbing me. Maybe the hook was all right, but wasn't the best. It still had a very nice warm tone to it, so that always helps at the very least. Got to enjoy that. And I mean, not every song on this album is going to be a banger, right? So, not that I hated this song, but I don't know. This one just kind of felt like a demo of an idea, you know? This wasn't quite fully flushed out. Let's see where else this album takes us with song number 6, Off He Goes. I didn't hit play. Song number 6, Off He Goes. And I mean, you always got to get those thorough ballads in there somewhere, and we definitely got it with this one in all of its glory and all its very nearly 6-minute glory. I believe that's, yes, the longest song in the album. Wow. Didn't think a ballad would have to go on that long, but here we are anyways. One of the things that kind of kept my attention and interest about this song was the soft lead guitar on top of all the acoustics. Definitely helped it stand out more than it would have been otherwise, because other than that, I think it would have just been a little too run-of-the-mill, just sad kind of acoustic track. So it was nice to have that little touch, that extra little texture, made it fun. Even more pretty on top of that too, so just good stuff all around there. And I was looking at that this song apparently has a lot to do with Vedder writing about himself and how he believes that he has always been like a bad friend. I guess kind of like one of those just like, you know, hangs out with you and then just kind of dips, takes off, see you later, doesn't really hang around, it's kind of disconnected. But I mean, I guess I get that, because in the beginning I thought this song was about like reminiscing about someone who passed away, but if you kind of use that as a metaphor for Eddie feeling like a bad friend, well then I guess that just fits the deal, doesn't it? So interesting enough in the lyrics. It's nice to have that kind of like self-reflection without necessarily coming off too pessimistic about yourself, and someone who writes that kind of stuff all the time, it's nice to hear it done otherwise. So that's always cool. Not a bad song at all. Again, nice ballad. Nice to have this kind of thing. Super pretty, so I see why it's a single. Hell of a long single, though. I don't know if they have a shorter version of it, but here we are anyways. Anyways, song number 7. Moving on now to Habit. And as it fades out, song number 7, Habit. Definitely jumping back into that heavier, almost grungier intensity with this one. So it was a nice pickup. It feels a little strange to immediately come off a ballad, but I mean, whatever, it's fine. I dug it. It's also a relatively shortish song, average for about 3:35. So I mean, you're not like faced with it way too long, so that's always fine. That's good. Apparently it's about Mike McCready's alcoholism back in the earlier portion of their career. I know they've all had some sort of issues like that. Not all of them, but most of them have had some sort of issues like that throughout their career. So just being addressed one by one type deal. But it's just kind of funny how I imagine Mike McCready sitting there, like he obviously agreed to this track to be on the album, but it's still going to feel strange. Like one of those no doubt, don't speak situations where you sing about a breakup and the guy you broke up with is like literally right there in the room with you. Whoops. Anyways, that's a little weird. I like the harmonies like all across the track too that are kind of sprinkled in. It's mainly brought in, I should say, with the reprieve, the chorus. You know, the thing, the word that comes back a lot, the actual word habit, whatever. Oh my God, this is a bad day for me to do the podcast. My head is just not on my shoulders today. But regardless, the harmonies. Super cool. I do like them. They sound great. They sound like they're done like right off the floor too. Like it doesn't really sound like it was done like in booths. And I think I read that a portion of this album was done kind of off the floor. So I mean, I guess I would imagine this could be one of those things too. Anyways, it sounds good. I like it. Nice intense track to pick everything back up. So let's see how that continues with song number 8, Red Mosquito. And hopefully I remember how to speak properly. Song number 8, Red Mosquito, and kind of going back to that idea of a Neil Young influence on display here. And again, not necessarily anything wrong there. I'm just saying it's kind of really bringing me to that idea. Though this also feels like it could have been like a Tragically Hip song that was released at some point too. I don't know. It's like a weird in between of the two. That Pearl Jam just kind of like lost themselves in there somewhere. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. But at the very least, it's not that the song sounds bad or anything, but I feel like it's lacking something that could really just help make the song take off. I do like a lot of the different layers and textures sprinkled in and everything like that. It sounds fine at certain points. I like the almost slidey guitar solo that's happening too. That sounds like very like muddy. Not in a bad way. It just sounds like a very muffled kind of distortion. So I thought that was pretty cool too. But I don't know. There's something that could have been done with the song to like really make it take off even more. If that makes sense. I don't know. Just the way I felt about it. Not bad, but was hoping for a little more out of that. So let's see what I get with song number 9. Even though it's only a minute and 2 seconds long. Lookin'. And just like that, song number 8, Lookin', that was a very, very quick track. And you know what? That's fine by me. A really quick, punchy, hyper type of song. It's loud. It essentially gives you 2 verses and a chorus in just under a minute. So you gotta love that. It's giving you just enough to work with in that short amount of time. Fantastic stuff. It's more or less like an interesting little interlude. I would have thought this would have worked better like earlier in the album, like maybe after Off He Goes, then it picks up this one. It'd be really heavy and kind of weird, but it'd be much shorter, and so that way it just kind of reintroduces that heavier sound real quick. But who am I to say? Regardless, I think this is pretty cool. Not a whole lot to it, but that doesn't need to be. It did everything it needed to in that time. Let's move on now to song number 10, Present Tense.
As you're the only one who can forgive yourself.
And as it goes out, song number 10, Present Tense. So with this one, I feel like where this song was going, it could have built up to something way better than what it ended up being. It takes a long time of half-hearted building to get to a pretty admittedly weak climax. Granted, the end of the song there towards the end, like that like last little quiet instrumental at the end, I think that was really pretty. I really like that, and the way it sounds and the way it progresses, very nice. And with that, there are some pretty moments across the entire song too, but it felt really lackluster. And I don't know, the build was weak, the climax wasn't really all that great of a payoff. It had some good moments sprinkled in. It should have been something else. It could have been something else. And at nearly 6 minutes long, I was kind of hoping for that, but never quite got it, unfortunately. Not the worst song on the album by far, but I was definitely hoping for a little more out of that one as it went. So let's see what we get out of song number 11, Mankind. There you go with song number 11, Mankind. I had to look up whether or not it was Eddie Vedder on vocals for this one because it just sounded vastly different than what he usually sounds like. At first I thought it was like Eddie, but he just stopped trying but yet agreed to sing the song anyway. So I was like, what the hell is happening here? It turns out it's Stone Gossard, the guitarist, so that make sense that it was that different. Not that he has a bad voice, but when you're expecting something else, it just kind of throws a wrench into everything. But the song overall, though, it feels painfully generic. Like, this feels like what a group of 15-year-olds would, like, write in one of their basements, like, just trying to write a cool rock track or something. I don't know. Maybe it's not as generic as I'm laying it on to be, but as compared to the rest of the album, this one just feels wholly uninspired, kind of boring overall. Just, I don't know, not really digging this one too much. Not their greatest work. With that said, we'll see if we can wrap up the album any better. We'll start with song number 12, I'm Open. Well, alrighty then. That was quite different. Song number 12, I'm Open. I mean, definitely the most atmospheric and just experimental track on the entire album for sure. Texturally, it's silky smooth and just has a vastly different feel to it overall. I do like that they tried something different because this was just out of left field. Like, I don't even recall ever hearing this song in my life, period. So just hearing this, it was just like, wow. Did not anticipate that happening. I feel like it could have been explored a little more, though. There was a lot of interesting layers being put into this. Like, kind of like a lot of thought went into just making this a very smooth, like, calm atmosphere. So it would have been nice to see what else they could do with it. But then again, you run the fear of potentially just going overkill and making it too long, and maybe you don't have any other idea to explore with it. So maybe it is fine the way it is. I don't know. But this was quite the second last track on the album. Let's see how they potentially close out the album. Could it be like this? Do we get an extended version? Do we get something else? Let's find out right now with song number 13, Around the Bend.
that I've been.
Okay, there it is. The final song on the album, song number 13, Around the Bend. Quite a bold choice to end the album on what essentially is just a folky lullaby. Don't know why that was the choice to go in with, but they sure did. Apparently, Eddie has said that the song can go two different ways if you're looking into the lyrics. One is that he initially wrote it for Jack Iron's son as something of a lullaby. So, I mean, I guess that's why it sounds the way it does. But again, to end the album like that just feels a little strange. And two, he also wanted the song to feel like it had something of a darker side, though, just to kind of like, you know, separate the meaning for people. So it could be also like about like a stalker, just kind of like watching and thinking about their victim or prey or whatever. So, yeah, there's that. And if you compare it to the first idea of this song, my overall conclusion is stay the hell away from Jack Iron's son. Wow. How about you don't stalk the little boy? That seems like the right idea to do, is to not stalk him. Not at all, if you ask me. Probably not the greatest closure to the album, as I've already said. It's a little bit of a sleeper, no pun intended. It should have probably actually ended with, as I was talking about earlier, a bit of an extended, more well thought out version of I'm Open. I think that just like this weird textural ending could have been a good way to do it. But then we're given this, and I don't know, it just kind of feels like an extra track that didn't need to necessarily be on the album, but that was their choice, definitely not mine. And that is all 13 songs in the album. I'm just going to go ahead and take off these headphones now, put them over here on my little headphone stand. Fantastic. Now, as far as I could read, I get there was tension with the band around this era, as there was in Vitalogy. We discussed that last time when we covered that album last anniversary. It's fairly present here, though. You can kind of just, I don't know, you kind of get this idea of it. This is definitely more of a lifeless entry as compared to the other albums that we've covered on the show so far, and it just, so far in their discography, yeah, just, I don't know. It seems like one of the more lifeless ones. It had some good moments in it. It had some good times in it. Some of it was pretty pleasant, but for an overall feeling, it didn't really make for the most interesting listen. Kind of disappointed in it, but again, still had some decent moments. I don't know. And I'm only comparing it to the previous 3 albums because I have not heard any other future Pearl Jam album beyond this except for their self-titled one, which I believe was like in 2005. So not knowing what to expect in their discography moving forward is going to be a wild ride over the next, I don't know how many more years to go until I'm at the end of the Pearl Jam discography. We'll see if I'm still doing the podcast by that point. But yes, that does bring us now to the end of that album. So I really want to know what you thought about this album, what you thought about all these songs. I shared my opinion and I want to hear yours too. But wait, there is more options to do that because now we're going to go on to the next part. We have to... Wait, I need something here. I need some help. Ah, yes, the popper. I don't think I can reload this thing. No, I definitely can't. Well, let's pretend. I'm just going to hold this here, like right down here, and then here you go, pop! There it is. It's sprung up on the screen there. The numbers. I'm just trying to have fun with editing. Audio listeners are like, what the hell are you doing? I'm making numbers pop onto the screen. I like to try to show off my subpar editing skills. Anyways, yes, we have all the songs here, 13-1. Time to rank them now. Which ones I like the least to the most. Yeah, least favorite to favorite, not so great to great, not so preferable to preferable. However you want to cut the cake, you got to cut the cake because it's time for the anniversary thing, and gotta have that anniversary cake, and there's 13 slices here. That's probably pretty unlucky, but you know what? I'm fine with that. It is my anniversary after all. I can do this. And I can also rank the songs now. I'm not going to hold it out any longer, so let's do this. 13, Mankind. 12, Around the Bend. 11, Sometimes. 10, Smile. 9, Red Mosquito. 8, Hail Hail. 7, Present Tense. 6, I'm Open. 5, Off He Goes. 4, Who You Are. 3, Lookin'. 2, Habit, which means number 1 on my list is In My Tree. I just thought that was the best one on the album. Of a particularly sleepy album, that was the best one. Very curious to hear your song rankings too. Don't let me be the only one. I gotta hear yours. And also, it's my anniversary. If I had to ask one thing, I'd just ask you to do that. So I guess we can just go to the top of the screen and push those down. All right. Because now I have to just, I don't know, boom, there it is. No clever transition for that one. Time to rate the record. So what did I think about this one? And before I say that, I will say, going back to previous Pearl Jam albums that we've done for the anniversary in the past, I was looking at the re-rankings of not the re-rankings, but I was looking at the rankings of the albums and everything like that. Versus is still the best one. Then it was 10. Then it was Vitalogy in that order somewhere in the ranking system, which I'll eventually show off again one day, and so that we can have an idea of where everything is. But I digress. This one is another B-tier album. The 4th Pearl Jam album that is done on the show is the 4th B-tier Pearl Jam album. Just barely survived, too. B- 70.76%. Very nearly a C-tier Pearl Jam album. Makes me wonder what the future holds. Is something going to drop below that threshold a little bit? I guess only time will tell. So you can just, I don't know, fizzle off there. See you later, lettering, because now we are finally at the end of the 3-year anniversary episode. Thank you very much for joining me on this anniversary episode. Oh, wow, that hung on to like a vent on my ceiling. Audio listeners might have scared the shit out of you there. I apologize. I just wanted to do one more little popper before I went. But yes, thank you very much for joining me for the anniversary. Yay, 3 years old now. Fantastic. But I want to know what you thought about this album too. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you agree or disagree with me? How would you rank the songs? How would you rate the record? Tell me everything you want to about this album. Curious. No, down in the comments below, wherever you're listening, because it doesn't matter where you're listening. There's comment sections everywhere. Let me know what you thought about this album. I super duper want to hear it. And of course, you can always go over to ratetherecord.ca. Again, that's ratetherecord.ca, and find other places to leave your opinions on all the streaming links, social media links. The RTR Club, you can join for $3 a month. You could also let me know there. Why not? And you can't let me know on the merch thing, but you can still buy merch. There you go. That is an available option. And just remember, your anniversary gift to me would be fantastic if it was a like, subscribe, rate, share, comment, and follow. All of those things, handful of them, just one of them, anything means the world to me. Thank you very much if you have done that. You've made it all the way to the end. That's the least I can ask for it at this point. But yes, I'm all done now. That is the end of the episode. So once again, thank you very much for joining me. There'll be another episode on Monday, going back to regular schedule. And if you're watching this on the Friday that this comes out, starting at noon today, there's going to be a 12-hour marathon of the best of season 1 through 5 being live streamed on YouTube. It's not going to be re-uploaded. So if you're seeing this way in the future, don't worry about it. I'm sure it was a fun time anyway. So until I see you again, go listen to some awesome music, and I'll see you again on Monday. And now I have to go clean up all of this confetti. So until I see you again, go listen to some awesome music. Take care, friends.